IVM.
My favorite link is storytel.com/IVM, which is a lovely place to go. Best books available. I'm not saying that because they're forcing me, but stop choking me. All right, I'll do it anyway. Yeah, there's this book which you don't have to read, but if you want to understand what evil actually was like back in the 30s and going on from there, to know more about Adolf Hitler and his weird and ridiculous theories and the hold he had over people and why, you have to read The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich. William L. Shirer. I read it as a 12-year-old. And then I married a woman who's a bit of a fascist. But that's another story. So keep in mind that if you go through storytel.com/IVM, you get a 30-day free trial as against a 14-day free trial on the link. All right, it's very simple. All you got to do is log on to storytel.com/IVM. Millions and millions and millions of stories, many written by me. All that and more. Find it all on Storytel. Kripaya dhyan dijiye. The language used on the podcast may not be fit for consumption. We warn you, tread carefully. But listen, yaar, don't be so conservative.
You're listening to Cyrus Says.
People ask this question. Did Ram beat Raavan? Did it go into a 5-series match? Was it 3-2? Was it 2-1 and 2 called off because of rain? All these questions are explored by the man who has changed the way you look at mythology, made it fun for everyone, and revived a genre and made people proud to be Indian. He and the center. The one and only Amish Tripathi.
Why follow your auntie's advice when you can follow Cyrus Says on Facebook and Twitter to stay updated about the latest shows?
Okay, on Cyrus Says, Jeremy Hunt, personal friend of mine, and also in the running for the Prime Ministership, if England survives, Britain survives, then I don't know what's going to happen. But he says the only naughty thing he's done so far in his life is have bhang somewhere in backpacking days, way back in India. He had what is called bhang lassi in his own words. And I'm told an Indian filmmaker has jumped on this. Rakesh Omprakash Mehra is going to make a movie on this called Bhang Lassi Bhang. It didn't warrant that kind of laugh, but thank you so much.
I'm being polite.
For being polite. We have on the show today Amish Tripathi. And for you, sir, because you're a big shot, I have to put on the glasses. We're both hanging up.
Now you look completely intellectual, dude.
I do. I look like a professor. But first we have to take a break and we'll be back.
Hey guys, I'm Mikhail Almeida. I host a podcast with my co-hosts Akash Mehta and Siddharth Reja on the IVM app. It's called What a Player.
What a Player.
WADDAPLAYAH, because illiterates can't find it on their own.
No, and the her at the end is very important. What a player.
Yeah. And it comes out every Thursday on the IVM app. Tune in, we discuss everything sports, all sports.
All sports.
Yeah.
Mainly cricket, other sport in the middle, sandwich.
What happened to your language skills? Don't worry, he talks better on the show.
Yeah.
It's a great show. It has all things, including cricket and things around sports as well.
Yeah.
And some personal life.
As you can see, we're a very united podcast. And if you want to listen to us, tune in to us every Thursday on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com.
Thursday.
Who hasn't heard of AT&T? AT&T, one of the great corporates of the world. And Amish Tripathi is the first half of that, AT. Amish, let me tell you, you may be the greatest author that's ever entered our small little studio here. So please stay as long as you can. And for those who don't know you, and there are very few like that because your books have sold millions, you're an Indian author and you have been, your first one was The Immortals of Melua, is that right? Which is the Shiva trilogy.
Yes, first of the Shiva trilogy.
Why is everything a trilogy? Why can't it be a quadruple-G?
And no, Ramchandra series, actually quadrology. Ramchandra series...
Sala!
Put it there, partner.
You get yellow card.
I'll try for a red card.
You get.
Ramchandra series is actually a 5-book series.
My God.
I guess,
so let's cut again.
Right.
We're going a little bit all over the place, but we'll explain everything. Raavan is part of the Ramchandra series.
Okay, let me explain the entire caboodle. Okay,
anthology.
So the first series is the Shiva trilogy.
Correct.
3 books: Immortals of Meluha, Secret of the Nagas, Oath of the Vaiputras.
Correct.
That's the Shiva trilogy. Then there's the Ramchandra series, which is a 5-book series, of which 2 books have been released. Third, Raavan, is releasing today.
Right. But then how do you know there'll be 2 more?
Because it's there in my mind. So now...
But you know the full book is there.
I know it right down to the ending. The last paragraph is there in my mind.
Aap to Google se bhi upar hai. It's fantastic.
Sir, thank you.
Are you serious? Or you're pulling my leg?
It's not just that. But let me just explain.
Okay.
Ramchandra series is Ram, Sign of Ikshwaku, Sita, Warrior of Mithila is the second book. Ram Shaku is the first book. The third book is Raavan, Enemy of Aryavarta. And fourth and fifth book are to come. But these aren't the only two series. I have various ideas for various series in my mind. And I've left clues for all of them in the Shiva trilogy. My hardcore readers have decoded the clues already. So for example, there was a clue I had left in Immortals of Meluha, which was released in 2010, which was tied up in another series, Ramchandra series, Sita, Warrior of Mithila, which was released in 2017.
Right.
All the books that I will write over the next 20-25 years, they're all linked to each other, and I've left clues for all of them in the Shiva trilogy.
So put in perspective, 2010 when you left the first clue, Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister. 2017 when you left the second clue, Narendra Modi was the Prime Minister.
I have no idea what the connection is, but okay.
But I want to know, has the RSS read your books? Because a lot of people, when you look at Hindutva in India and all this, and this idea, they don't seem to really know much about their own history, our own history and culture, etc. And
it's a problem. I think. I mean, it's
the historical part, which is yours.
I don't think there's a nation that is as cut off from its own roots as we Indians are. We're a bunch of freaking morons. And it's the fault.
Sir, can you say that again? That really made me happy.
We are a bunch of freaking morons. And I think the fault lies with both the left-wing extremists and the right-wing extremists. Seriously, Ram Banai Jodi, they're made for each other.
Wow.
The left-wing extremists like to think that before the British came, we are a bunch of barbarian monkeys and the British civilized us, which is a load of bullshit.
Right.
And the right-wing extremists assume that we were the only great people, that other nations weren't great, which is also nonsense, boss. Other nations were also great.
And then we built everything.
Indians were, seriously, we had kick-ass ancestors. And I've said this repeatedly, if those ancestors were up in the heavens looking down at us, they would be embarrassed. Yeah. Because frankly, what have we achieved? We haven't done justice to the heritage that we have.
And don't make it personal. When you say we, you mean all Indians.
All Indians.
Not
all
me
Indians.
Personally, because,
No, then I would have said you.
Now I need a therapist and I'm feeling sad.
Yeah, you do need to step up a bit, I admit. But we as in all Indians. There was a time for, there's this brilliant British economist called Angus Madison.
Who doesn't know Angus Madison? Who's Angus Madison?
He's a late, brilliant British economist. He'd done a study of GDPs of countries, of nations around the world for the last 2,000 years. Okay, data for the last 2,000 years. How do you get 2,000 years ka historical
there are various things that economic sheets?
Trade routes, various things and he did data, okay, on population estimates, various things, and you can it's all of that data is publicly available. For around 14 or 15 centuries of the last 20 centuries, India was number one. Either number one or a very close number two.
Really?
In the global GDP rankings across the world.
Right up to the British era?
Across the world. Last 500 years, we were number two for 300.
Who was number
last
one?
500 years. China.
China again! Don't take that word. Don't take that word.
No, but we were ahead of them for more.
Yeah, we beat them in the Commonwealth Games.
No, we beat them for many centuries actually.
Really?
Yeah, we were. There was a time
when they kept making everything smaller and cheaper.
There was a time when we were 35-40% of the world's GDP. We just had a bad 200 years. And it wasn't just in terms of wealth.
So can we blame the Congress? I don't know.
Sale, kutte kamine. Don't make it political. Okay. But it's, it's not just the economy. In terms of innovation, in terms of science, in terms of knowledge production.
I thought we went back because the Industrial Revolution didn't really hit us. That's when we went back.
Yeah, we missed the bus.
We missed the bus.
We were thrown under the bus. You can.
We didn't have a bus. That was the problem.
You can have any interpretation for it. But the point is this. We can keep blaming the British. We can keep blaming the Turks. Or we can realize the time for excuses is over, boss. We've been free for 70 years. We can't keep blaming the British and the Turks for everything, man. It's in our hands now. Let's get our act together.
Yeah, at least on Pakistan, if you're Ornob. There are different people to blame. But
Pakistan ko kya lena dena hai?
If you're Ornob, he blames Pakistan for everything. I'm telling you, that day a school meet got cancelled in Ghatkopar, he said Pakistan. So, but that's...
I will stick to my comment.
I'm interrupting your flow, but I want to just point out here my point, my small unintellectual point, which is that I have this problem, even in the Parsis. Let's talk from our own backgrounds always first. Everybody's very keen on the religion. Everybody's very keen on the rituals. Everyone's very careful about ye karne ka, wo karne ka, safed pehna padega, ye wo, all that's fine. But what about the history? Nobody cares. They don't know Cyrus the Great from Darius or Xerxes or Artaxerxes or Shapur.
Boss, the names themselves, Cyrus is the Greek pronunciation of
Cyrus,
the origin.
Yeah, correct.
Thank God you know it.
I know it.
I meet so many.
I'm a history buff.
I meet so many Parsis who know
No idea.
only the anglicized or the Greek version. How can you not know your own language?
Even
That is so
Alexander
sad.
in Macedonian is Handros.
Exactly,
actual pronunciation.
Alejandros.
And actually it sounds better, closer to Sikandar when you hear them say it themselves. So the Sikandar I can pick up actually from there when they say it. Because they have an XH sort of opening in the beginning. No, anyway, the point being that the history...
તમે તો intellectual છે.
શું કરું દીકરા? Time બહુ છે હવે.
No, but that is true.
It's just
There
because
is a
Gujarati
lot
Manas
of
is in
wisdom.
Delhi, so we have to
There is
slip
a
into-
lot of wisdom that our ancestors have, which sadly we don't study. And actually, Indian and the ancient Persian civilization, the Zoroastrian Persian civilization, were actually cousin cultures.
Yeah.
A lot of our texts actually interacted.
Darius
had-
across the Indus.
Yeah,
Darius the
and
Great.
there were
Nobody
Indians who
speaks
went
of that.
across. There were Indians who went across. There were Persians who came here. It's not just rulers.
So where did
it
we
was
go,
traders,
before we
it
get
was
into your books,
intellectuals.
where did we go wrong, as you were saying? What you're saying that through so many years the world record is there. We're right there, top 1, 2, in terms of trade, commerce, innovations, inventions, culture, customs, architecture, art, everything. So where did we suddenly start, going backwards?
Yeah, I think this hasn't been studied enough. The problem with our history, the way our history is taught
Can
to
we blame
us,
the BMC? No.
for global.
No, go on. Ignore
I
ignore
lost
me.
that. I lost that completely.
I just
lost
go
my
off
chain
tan-
of thought also.
I go off tangent for no reason.
I lost my chain of thought also. But coming back.
Narcotics should be banned.
I will pull my chain of thought back
Yes,
to...
please. Pull.
To the core.
Khichao.
Pull hard. Okay, so... I don't think it has been studied enough. Okay, our history books, the problem with our history books is it's not our history, it's the history of our invaders. Okay, that's the way it's taught to us, which is freaking bizarre. It's like, say, the history of Persia is only about the Arab... Say, the
Invasion.
Persians were taught only about the Arab invasions and the Turk invasions. What do the Persians think? Arey, apna to kuch tha hi nahi. But that's not the way
Not at
Iranians
all.
are taught.
Very proud of the
That's
Zoroastrian
Not, that's not the way
roots.
Iranians are taught. But the way we are taught, we learn nothing about our own achievements, our own culture. The problem is, and like I said, we can't keep blaming the British forever. This was the education system they set up. Who stopped us from changing it?
Please blame Bollywood when Subhash Ghai makes a film called Gupt, which has nothing to do with Chandragupt. I mean, what's the point? It's as bad as that film Border, which has nothing to do with Alan Border, destroyed cricket for me. So, I think we've not done...
Again, I lost my chain of thought completely.
Just ignore it. You do your lecture quietly. People are listening to you, not listening to me. We advertise it properly. Okay, so we'll leave that point as the point being that we were a great civilization. In your words, we need to come back to the...
there is a book. There's a brilliant book by this... by
Madison.
No, I'm giving you another name that you hopefully should have heard of, called Sanjeev Sanyal. He is the principal economic advisor, but he's also
On the rivers.
historian.
He's written on the 7 rivers, correct?
Wow.
हाँ.
But आपके चरण कहाँ हैं?
Sir, मेरे को 2 minute footage खाना पड़ेगा यहाँ पे. Please play some relevant music to show, India winning the match or something like that.
Cyrus the intellectual.
There you go.
No, one thing.
My social life is worse than yours.
Cyrus the second great.
There is Cyrus the second.
There is Cyrus the
Actually,
Great.
he is Cyrus the second, the great.
Cyrus the second is Cyrus the Great.
The great,
so
correct.
I'm saying Cyrus
not
the
bad.
Great part 2.
You really know your Persian history. I'm very
Okay.
impressed.
They were our cousin culture, dude.
Of course.
Okay, so coming back.
Gave the world trousers, by the way.
I lost my chain of thought once again. Coming back. Sanjeev
So this will be your
Sanyal
biopic.
has a book.
Chain of thought.
Cyrus screwed my chain of thought.
X certificate.
Okay, so Sanjeev Sanyal wrote this book called The Indian Renaissance. Okay, that had come out, I think, maybe 9-10 years ago, and he had it was his theory for why India started declining. Okay, and his theory was, we keep wanting to blame the invaders. First the Turks destroyed us, burnt Nalanda, blah blah blah. Then the British came and destroyed us even more. But he said there was a time when invaders used to come to India, we used to beat everyone back. Okay. Then there came a time when कोई भी राह चलता आके साले हमको मार के अंदर घुस रहा था. Okay, so the fault was more ours, that we lost our vitality, we lost our strength. Now, there are various theories for why it happened, when it started happening, maybe
Also,
10th, 11th century, maybe the caste system became rigid, maybe internal divisions, God knows. But it needs to be analyzed so that we learn our weaknesses, so that we don't repeat them again.
Okay, now let's focus on this book, which is the latest one, which is Raavan, enemy of Aryavarta.
Correct.
First, what is Aryavarta?
Aryavarta is the land of the Aryas.
Oh.
The noble land.
Aryans?
No.
Aryas.
As in, why the Nazis use
Arya
the word
Samaj,
Aryans
Arya.
is something that...
Where does the word Aryan come
bizarre
from then?
buggers. Arya...
No, Arya is in Arya Samaj Arya.
No. Arya is a term that is actually used in ancient Indian and ancient Persian literature. It was a term for noble, for the nobility. If you were noble, you were called Arya. That's all.
And if you're a female, Maria.
No, females are also called
Sorry,
Arya.
sorry.
Oh, for God's sake.
Don't.
Dude!
Why are you reacting? Now we've been together for
Koi
half
mujhe
an hour.
chaku de do,
Really,
yaar. Nahi, yaar.
You should not, when a
Suicide,
child misbehaves, you
suicide,
always sit and
suicide.
say, Bunty, stop it. No, you leave it. Yeah. Okay, sorry, I interrupted your flow this time. Let me not. So, Raavan, give us the whole. I want to go back to the entire beginning, why you're here. Now, I think a lot of people do know about your background, and I think your grandfather is it, and the influence and all that. So we'll come to that. But let's understand Raavan. This lot of books now. So just take us through. I mean, it's difficult. It's the huge books, but take us through the basic.
Yeah, but it's a fast read. Hopefully,
No,
hopefully. So now, okay, I'll tell you what
very
the thing
quickly.
is.
I want to get from
This
you
is
also about who.
This is my interpretation
Yeah.
of the story of the Ramayana.
Right.
The
My
version-
interpretation meaning.
See, the version of the Ramayana that most modern
North Indian version.
Indians think is the Ramayana is actually a 1980s television serial, right?
Are you kidding me? The one I watched.
Yes, the one you watched.
They made it up.
No, but they made changes.
Sir,
They made
2019
changes
mein
from
mat
the,
batao.
they made changes from the original. Like for example,
What-
pop quiz. Is the Lakshman Rekha mentioned in the Ramayana? What do you say?
I suppose so because the word is so. The phrase
Correct.
is so.
No, where Lord Lakshman took
Correct.
that arrow and drew that line.
I think so because
Sita Ma
the
could
phrase
not
is
cross.
very much part of all languages.
Correct. And because it was then the television serial, in the original Valmiki Ramayana, there is no Lakshman Rekha. It is not there.
Where does the word come from?
It
Seema
comes
Rekha
from the
boundary.
1980s television serial.
The phrase was not there before.
It was
in Hindi and
the first time, at least from
Sanskrit.
all the versions of the Ramayana that I have read, the first time I see this being used is actually the Ramcharitmanas, which was written around 400 years ago by Tulsidas ji. In the original Valmiki Ramayana, there is no Lakshman Rekha. There are versions of the Ramayana, like for example the Adbhut Ramayana, which is also very ancient, in which there are two Ravans. The main Ravan is the elder Ravan, far more powerful. He's killed by Sita Ma, not by Lord Ram.
What are you saying?
I'm serious. Adbhut Ramayana. Okay.
How did she kill him?
She did. She's a powerful warrior.
But he has five
in that
heads.
version.
He's
And
looking in
she's
five
a powerful,
directions.
And she's a powerful warrior in that version.
I say how
There are
divided
various-
10 heads into two.
there are
Boss,
various-
dekha? That's fast editing.
Correct. You're a man of division.
Superstar.
Cyrus is a very divisive fellow.
I fit
The
right
most
in.
divisive man.
I'm going to Delhi. So, sorry.
So where was I? I
you-
lost my chain of thought once
So
again.
there were two Ravans.
So
Sita kills.
that's the
in one-
Adbhut Ramayana. Now, there are many versions of the Ramayana like this. And our ancients had an approach that you should celebrate every version, because our ancients had an approach that there is no one truth, and that
Oh, that's nice.
ancient India had it. You know, like
So
for
there's
example,
Rashomon.
the language of the ancient Indians was Vedic
Pali.
Sanskrit.
Huh.
Vedic Sanskrit. Okay. The version of Sanskrit we have now is classical Sanskrit, and of course there were Pali, Prakrut languages.
Yeah.
After that, Upper Brahmashal languages, and then but going back, Vedic Sanskrit was the original language of our ancestors.
Can you say that in Vedic Sanskrit?
No, because that language is not used today.
What the hell?
And
Yes.
sadly, I don't know that. I don't know Vedic Sanskrit. Now, in Vedic Sanskrit, there is no translation for the English word blasphemy. Do you know that?
Blasphemy as in something against
Like,
religion.
oh, you're insulting
yeah,
God
yeah.
type. Okay? They didn't have that word in Vedic Sanskrit. Why? Because they didn't have that concept. So you don't have a concept.
Wow.
You don't have a word for it.
So you can't be arrested. I can say anything. Comedy
That
is
is
back.
that is what our ancestors believed. They were real kick-ass, open-minded,
Easygoing.
liberal guys.
So we're very egalitarian
No, they
actually in our output.
their belief was that unless you question everything, how are you going to become knowledgeable and
Where are these
competitive?
ancestors when we need them now?
They are embarrassed of us.
Here I can't mention
They are
that
freaking embarrassed
so many
of
leaders
us.
we can't mention,
I
so
have
many
said
ideas.
it. I have said repeatedly. I think the mistake that Indian liberals make is that they don't realize our ancient culture is actually their biggest ally. Right? They don't realize it. And if they realized it, they would want our ancient texts to be taught in our schools and colleges, because then liberalism will come almost automatically. Like, for example, we assume
So
that
back to the Vedas can be a second movement with us going the liberal way.
if you start saying it, dude, Cyrus,
You think?
from divisive, you'll become the uniter.
Or
Cyrus the uniter.
I may
Cyrus the
I may have to
uniter.
relocate to Karachi.
Cyrus the
Be very
uniter.
careful.
Okay,
Yeah.
coming back.
Huh.
Coming back. Like, it is like this false, this thing is spread that those who fight for women's rights, okay, in today's day are somehow westernized, which is a load of bullcrap. Okay.
Really?
Our ancestors, okay, and women had very strong rights, okay, in ancient India. We had
then why do you have
women rulers.
Satyanarayan Puja and
we
all
had,
these,
We had women rulers. What?
You have all these-
What's anti-women about Satyanarayan Puja?
Because they're all worshipping the husband or his Pati Parmeshwar is sort of,
Satyanarayan Puja is not worshipping the husband. For God's sake,
all my
Cyrus.
friends do all this nonsense. They're
Nonsense.
Father is
Satyanarayan
75,
Puja
now
is
everybody is
not
to...
worshipping the husband. Okay, now but listen.
Okay, we don't have time for the explanation.
We had women. We had women rulers. We had women warriors.
Which period are we
Okay.
talking about?
till as late as 12th, 13th century. Okay, our oldest scripture is the Rig Veda, right?
Right.
The Rig Veda is essentially hymns written by the equivalents of the prophets and messiahs of the Abrahamic faiths, right? Because our rishis were the equivalents of the prophets and messiahs.
But they were not written down. They were orally.
No, at some point of time it was written down. So, but before that it was all oral.
Would that be as close to the possible actual, or would it have changed?
Boss, you can't say that
Chinese
for any
whispers?
text. Yeah. You can't say that for any text anywhere in the world. But coming back, the Rig Veda has hymns written by rishis, right? Equivalents of prophets and messiahs. What many people don't know is that the Rig Veda also has hymns written by rishikas, women rishis. We are the equivalent of women prophets and messiahs.
There were women rishis?
5,000 years ago. 5,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago. Boss, there are idiots today who say that who say that women should not read the scriptures. The answer to them is, you moron, they wrote the scriptures thousands of years ago. We don't teach enough of our.
So there were women rishis.
There were women rishis
with beards.
Maharishika Indrani, Maharishika Lopamudra, but we don't speak of it. We don't know.
But why?
I have no clue. Because our education
Dear
system...
women's movement, what the hell are you all doing?
Our education system is more obsessed with trying to Europeanize us.
And it's also the same 5 things that they teach you. That's what I'm trying to say.
What 5 things?
So whatever, it was taught the same things. So the Ramayana we are taught in one way. This is what happened, this is the battle.
What are the 5 things in the education system I lost?
No, I'm saying that we learn the same things. It's like we have the same food styles and all. We're not allowed to look beyond that. Every time it's the butter chicken biryani and 2 other things. So I'm saying the same thing happens. We're just given a small bag.
I lost my chain of thought completely. Okay. Butter chicken biryani, I didn't learn it in school.
I'll stop talking.
Damn it.
I'll stop talking.
Damn it.
I've upset you.
Don't do that.
Please don't stop
I'm
writing.
having too much fun.
Do not stop writing. We'll take a break. We have lots more to talk about.
Just when I was having fun.
No, but you haven't, because I wanted to ask you, in fact, just 1 minute before we take the break. I'm a little unclear about this and I've argued with so many people. So there's an Arya rendition or in Arya where Raavan is the good guy.
Look, there are various versions. Okay, in most of the versions, and practically all the versions that I've read, Lord Ram is obviously the hero.
Yeah.
But most of them, at least the ancient ones, have a nuanced take on Raavan too. They show us good points as well, but which is what our ancestors believe, that there's...
So is it good versus evil when they fight, or as simple as that, or that's bull?
Again, in Vedic Sanskrit, there's no translation for the English word evil, right?
Oh.
Because the perspective was that everything has something good in it, and everything has some.
So there's no
areas of
judgment
improvement.
actually.
Again, there was no translation for the English word judgment.
What kind of language is this?
Boss, it is a rocking language. Have you noticed?
Having trouble?
Have you noticed in English?
Yes.
When you write the male god,
you
write it with a capital G. How is it when you write the female goddess?
With a small g.
Correct. Why?
But
Because when
sexism.
the language was invented, the female goddess was lower. Male god was higher. In Vedic Sanskrit, no difference was. Male goddess or female, male god or female goddess, or you as an individual, same word.
How do you write it?
Same word.
What?
If you're referring to you say Twam. That's all. Twam. If you're referring to, whether you're referring to a god
or a
goddess, or you as an individual, the same.
It'll be very bad for postal services.
It was a lovely...
Everybody has the same reference. I'm just thinking, it'll cause confusion. Nobody ever got a letter in Vedic period. This is one thing they had to look at seriously, and they didn't. We will take a break, then we'll come back. Lots more to talk about. Still trying to understand. I think the great thing, what you're trying to say also is that there is no... we don't look for conclusions. There's no conclusions. There's no solutions. It's more just about putting out their different thoughts and perspectives.
And learn and apply in your own life. Don't judge. Learn and apply in your own
life.
Fair
enough. I like Raavan, but I'm quite the...
We'll come back to that.
Supposed to be very intelligent.
Cyrus the divider.
I have only one question. If he has 10 heads, does he have to brush 10 sets of teeth? Because that's a huge idea.
Imagine if he has to floss also. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, dude. His dentist would go mad.
His dentist would go completely mad. But
client
look
is
at
enough.
the bright side. Look at the bright side. 10 dentists, boss.
10 dentists?
10 dentists together.
That's the other option. Because he has the money.
That's the other option.
We'll take a break. We'll come back.
Coming back.
Hey Krupa, check out my beatboxing. Boots and cat and boots and cat
man,
and
please
boots
stop.
and cats. Alright, check out my singing.
No, I'm serious, stop.
But why?
Because you're genuinely bad and because you've got actual talent to showcase. Presenting the ATKT Talent Time podcast where I, Krupa,
and I, P-Man, chat with some immensely talented college students about the fun part of college, like freshers' life, the music and poetry scene, side hustles for college students.
and the not so fun like weird dress codes, hostel deadlines, and ragging.
New episodes every Tuesday on the IVM Podcast app, the IVM Podcast website, and wherever else you get your podcasts from. Hey, Kappa, check out my poetry. Roses are red,
No.
violets are blue.
No.
You are special.
Please stop.
Okay, back here after the break. Amish Tripathi is educating us not only about our culture and our past and our history, but also the fact that we don't need to look at everything in just one perspective or one direction. One direction. A band that has changed your life.
That's a band.
Yeah, I know. Where did that come
I
from?
discovered
From one
discovered that band through my son.
I know.
Seriously.
It's unbelievable.
Seriously. Yeah, and I actually like them, yeah.
Yeah.
But now my
Are
son
you
has
confessing?
outgrown them, yeah.
And you still like a One Direction.
No, my son has outgrown them, so I don't listen to it
You
anymore.
have pictures of Zayn Malik or whatever his name is all over the room.
No, my son has outgrown them now.
Has he?
Yeah.
Well, yours is son, mine is daughter. Talking about sexism, I have only female pop stars now. Huh? Ariana Grande is my big one. But this is about Raavan.
Is your big one?
Big
okay.
one.
Okay, whatever. Moving
Ouch. Oops. Great writer, terrible punster. Okay, let's talk a little bit about this. Firstly, the fascination. I know, I know this is something that most of your fans know. How did it start? Because you look like just a normal story of this, highly educated guy who, did everything correct, went to an IIT, good school, good college, IIT, banker. I mean,
I am.
Sorry, even better. So, how did you become a writer, one? And just take us very quickly through the influence, because from what I've read in the past, the grandfather plays a very big influence.
Much of what I learnt was from my family. My grandfather was a Pandit in Banaras, in Kashi. And my parents also were very religious. So I grew up in that kind of household. But schooling was Cathedral John Convent, then Xavier's College.
Where all the poor go.
And then, where all the poor go.
Must be very hard, yeah.
Yeah, very hard.
I was
certainly not among the richer guys in Cathedral. But
the richer ones don't achieve anything. No? You've got to be right in the middle. Up and down goes nowhere. Yeah. Sorry.
You must have been a Marxist in your previous birth, man.
I went to the same school, same college. Same school, same college, different results. Okay.
Yeah, but then post Xavier's, I did IIM, I did an MBA.
No, but look at South
and
Mumbai.
then I worked in banking for around 14 years.
That's what I'm saying. It's a ridiculous story, actually, because you are the perfect story of the 90s, 80s, 90s.
Correct. And in fact, most of my school and college friends are also surprised that I've written books. I was always a voracious reader, but I never had creative bent. I didn't know I had this creative bend, dude.
But would you correct the teacher in class? Because we studied the Ramayan, I remember. Ramayan was rapid reading in one of the batches, I can't remember which. So did you start correcting the teachers in class? No, sir. There was no Lakshman Rekha. Lakshman is a cricketer, Rekha is an actress. Please buzz off. I'm just saying, did you do anything like that?
No.
Ignore. Go on. Forget my references, Baba. It's yours.
Okay, so coming back.
So when did this?
Now I would have started. I'd never done anything creative when I was young. I was like, even in Malhar, I was on the organization side. I wasn't on the Malhar was, for those who don't know, the
everybody knows
Collegiate Cultural
Everyone listens to your
of Xavier's,
Baba.
Of Xavier's. So I was always on the organization side. So I was CP in '94, but I was never on the performance side.
But let's face it, that is the side where you'd want to meet the ladies because you're in charge of things, you make decisions, everybody has to come to you. I know.
Moving on. So
whether you're an epic lover and a great scholar, you're just another male.
I was always on the So I was always on the organization side. So even today, I can't explain how the stories come to me, man. So I wrote my first 2 books along with my job. It just kind of comes. I can actually kind of
So it was more like fun. Why were you writing?
I was doing it for myself. I didn't think it would go anywhere, frankly. So I wrote the first 2 books along with my job. It was a pragmatic decision to resign. So only when the royalty check became more than my salary, I resigned only at that time.
Oh, but it was well before 2008. So you can't
blame
the recession.
2011.
Oh, after 2008. So you had faced the pain. All right. Coming back.
No, private bankers didn't necessarily face the pain.
And not Indian private bankers.
Yeah.
But coming back, did you have the knowledge already, or were you researching and writing?
No, I read a lot. So, and my family, everyone reads a lot. So, it's just a habit. And one, of course, I learned much of this the old-fashioned way. By listening. So my grandparents, my parents.
That's what I'm saying. It's already there.
The family atmosphere.
It's like years and years of research without actually being research. It's actually research. It's all gone into your head, and you sort of know. Exactly. So when you're writing, your streams of thought are already clear.
I don't need to read or do any research while writing. Sometimes I might recheck, sometimes I might speak to some
the odd name here and there, but I'm saying generally
to figure things out. Yeah, but otherwise, yeah.
And then did you also look at the whole gamut of different versions and all?
I said, again, many of them I would have heard. So the knowledge would have been there. And from a very young age, one started realizing that actually there are different interpretations of
what was the home like? What was your mom and dad's views?
No, they're also for many years.
Very
I was
liberal about this whole interpretation.
But yeah, that's what my grandfather says that my grandfather used to say, and my parents say that the more you discover our texts and our ancient culture, you will naturally become more and more liberal because you start understanding that there are multiple truths. Like, for example, before Cathedral, I'd studied in a school in Tamil Nadu, Lawrence School, Lovedale. So, in the north, for example, we believe in the north that Lord Karthik is elder and Lord Ganesh is younger. And I remember this was my first thing of realizing, boss, there are different interpretations. Because when I went to Tamil Nadu, out there it's the opposite. They believe Lord Ganesh is elder, Lord Karthik is younger. So I remember I'd come back from my first holidays, I'd ask my mother, Bhai, what is this?
I have an answer to
Lord
this.
Karthik is a bachelor in the north. In the south, he has 2 wives. Okay. So
Many Indians continue this.
Oh, shut
you
up.
cross the border and you change your marital status.
So it was confusing. Yeah, it's complicated.
Yes.
So it was confusing. And I came back and I asked my mother and she said, well, that's the beauty of India. There are multiple truths.
And nobody wants to argue the point further.
Ekam sat vipra bhauta vadanti. Rig Veda says that. Which means truth is one, but the wise men speak it as many.
Okay. So there's no debate between scholars from north and south or from different interpretations?
Within the north, you will have different interpretations. Within the south, you will have different interpretations. So actually, if you get into our culture, you will automatically realize multiple truths is our way of life. So there is no concept like this is the one truth. If you don't believe in it, you're going to rot in hell forever. No, there's no concept like that.
All right.
The concept doesn't exist.
Okay, now I have to fast forward because so we've understood that opening bit where you got into writing, but you're still a banker and you're writing just notes to yourself. Then what do you do?
No, I was writing, I wrote the full book, the full manuscript.
No, but you wrote the full book with an intent to publish?
Yeah, I thought I'll publish it and I'll see where it goes. So, in fact, my first book was rejected by every publisher.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Who was the first publisher who said no?
Every single one, dude.
But I want to remind
list
them.
The name, list the
I want to
name.
remind them of all the money they lost.
Every single one. But look,
HarperCollins.
Every single one.
You cough.
Every single one.
Not fuck off. Just
single
cough.
one. Every single one. This is a family show, right?
No. We'll edit one word here and there.
Okay. So every single one, right, rejected the book. And you can't blame them because at that time, books based on, mythology.
Didn't sell.
Yeah, it didn't work.
Yeah.
So and for them, it's a business. Yeah, fair enough. So they had said this book will be a guaranteed flop because they said that, which is true, that most of the readers are actually the youth and they aren't interested in religious subjects. So, so it's not going to work. And,
but strictly speaking, it's not a religious subject.
Then I self-published. Actually, I self-published my first book.
Wow.
Immortals of Meluha. Took off in the first week itself. So, and then Immortals of Meluha, my first book.
Yeah, I'm just seeing who's the publisher now.
Westland Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then within 3-4 months, many of the publishers who rejected the book came back to bid for it. So.
And asked you, can you write one book each for them?
Boss, it worked out well because if I had signed a contract before the release of my first book, I was a nobody. I would have signed obviously a contract that
and they'd have made all the money in the
one-sided.
second and third book. Yeah.
Yeah. But then because I signed once the book had already become a hit, I could negotiate better terms. Worked out well.
Superb.
Worked out well.
Okay, let's get back now to all the books. So the first is the trilogy is what you worked on first.
Shiva
right?
trilogy.
And now we are on the Raavan.
Now we are on the
what do you call
Ramchandra
it?
series.
Quintuplet.
Ramchandra series.
Ramchandra series. Okay, book 3.
The Raavan is the third book of the Ramchandra series.
Okay. Now in Raavan, I was just rifling through it. There's lots of dialogues. How do we know they're authentic dialogues?
As in?
When Vishwamitra is fighting with Devi something or the other, how do I know they actually said that? Shall I quote?
Quote.
Sir!
It means I've written it.
मैंने 10 मिनट में research किया, but 10 मिनट काफी है.
See, it's like this. Okay, it's my interpretation of what could have happened.
Right.
And like I said, there are various interpretations of our traditional texts. Right, and many of them actually quite different from each other. So this is my interpretation.
But won't someone react like that? How do I know that this is really true? How do I know this is not really? Because you also have the very orthodox sort of people who, when they look at things, say that, they're not happy with this translation. How do we know that it's authentic?
No, but this concept that there is this one truth and that everything has to be authentic to that is not an Indian concept. It's a foreign concept that's come into India. It's not our concept that there's this one truth, one book, everyone better follow it. It's not our concept. So, for example, it's not just my tradition.
Has anyone ever given you trouble?
No, I don't face. Why should I? I write respectfully, but I say it's my interpretation.
Correct. So nobody said that.
Respectfully.
Nobody says that we're not happy with this. How this didn't really happen.
No. In fact, I've readers. I have readers both from the left and the right. Yeah.
And do they call you up and talk to you and all that and say, "Sir, fantastic."
Yeah, many of them say publicly that they like my books.
Yeah?
Yeah, but listen, I write respectfully and I say clearly it's my interpretation. And look, it's, I think the best answer to this is I'd love to say that I'm doing something path-breaking and new, but I'm not. Because this was a rich tradition in ancient India, in fact, right up to the medieval times. So for example, the greatest Sanskrit writer ever, who do you think is the greatest Sanskrit writer ever? Playwright.
Manu?
Who's just a playwright award?
Valmiki?
Kalidas.
Kalidas.
Full marks. Okay. So Kalidas, most modern Indians believe, is the greatest Sanskrit writer ever. Kalidas himself would have disagreed with you. Because in his plays, he used to say the greatest Sanskrit writer ever was this playwright called Bhasa. Okay. And he has been spoken of by most Sanskrit playwrights that we see. You read the plays of Bhasa himself. Okay. So he's written plays like Pancharatra, for example. Okay. It's a completely different interpretation of the Mahabharata. In that, Drona Acharya actually manages to drive peace. Okay. Between Duryodhan and the Pandavas, and actually the war doesn't happen.
So then what happens after that?
That's it. And the entire play is about the philosophies that drive peace. The philosophies that drive peace. It's his own interpretation, and he's the greatest Sanskrit playwright ever.
And some critics call him bloody bastard.
These interpretations were allowed. They were celebrated.
And
this
accepted.
was our way. This concept of one truth, otherwise you'll go to hell. No, it's not an Indian way. Indian way is multiple truths. Ekam sat vipravada vadanti. As long as you do it respectfully.
Amish, I think you should stand for elections. I like your thinking.
Get lost.
I think both sides, left, right, center, all will understand your philosophy. It's a very...
Listen, man. Okay, good. Complete your point. Complete your chain of thought.
Okay. Listen, we are running out of time, but I want to get back to
Thank
Raavan.
God. Stay away from politics.
Raavan is very important to me. It's very interesting. I was trying to read. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to read the whole thing. But
shame on you.
It's really big, yaar. Today is 21st century.
I'm going to wait for you. Boss.
I'm going to wait
for you to finish it.
I'm waiting for the movie. But no, I want to know, I think you mentioned that exactly what you've been talking about. There's no one truth, whatever. Have we misunderstood Raavan over the years? We've just put him onto one side as, the Gabbar Singh sort of character.
But this entire thing is again an interpretation. I'm not deriding the TV serials. That happened. But TV serials tend to look at it simplistically. Our ancient writer, and Valmiki ji himself, who was the original writer, took a nuanced view. So their thing was that he was an extremely talented man. He was an intellectual. He was a scholar. And yes, he had, of course, he had a massive ego. He had a completely crazy temper. He was a brutally violent man. But his strengths were also spoken of.
Yes, a man of contrast, of brutal violence and scholarly knowledge. A man who will love without reward and kill without remorse. So,
and this, if you see our ancient versions, okay, and they used to see that, and they used to see nuance in all parts of life, because life itself is grey. There is no simplistic black and white in life itself. And their entire approach was, when you're seeing other characters, don't judge, learn, and apply in your own life. So what can one learn from Raavan? Even if you have the brilliant talents of Raavan himself, and he was a very talented man, if you cannot control your ego, you're going to be at a sticky end. So therefore, what can you learn from Raavan? Control your ego.
Were you happy with the interpretation of Shah Rukh Khan's Raavan when it came out?
Which one? That movie.
Yeah.
I don't think that's based
on
the text.
You said you can interpret it any way we want to.
I don't think that was based on the text.
You can't be a hypocrite about this.
That was not even based on the TV series.
You didn't enjoy the film. Yeah, it wasn't. Okay, I just want to talk about the fact that 6 of your books have sold over 5 million copies in the Indian subcontinent since 2010. Let me repeat that. 5 million copies. And the gross retail sales is 120 crores. This is a fact. Okay, you're not answering, so obviously you're trying to be modest. Forbes India has ranked Amish among the top 100 celebrities in India, not just influence and, all this that you've achieved, but also financially. Amish was selected as Eisenhower Fellow. What is that?
It's a fellowship program based out of the US, so yeah.
Wow, but 120 crores. Who says writing doesn't make money? I mean, obviously only 2 or 3 of you will make money, but it's just huge. So... would you say that...
Not as much as podcasts, though.
Oh, right. Just rub it in. We don't get a mention in the Ramayana, I can tell you that. But do you think you'd have made anything close to this as a banker?
No.
No?
No.
So amazing. It's almost like your karma was charted out post everything.
Thank God, man, because see, banking was the money would have been less and a freaking boring life.
So why did you eat up that IIM seat in Calcutta, yaar?
Sorry, man.
That is really mean.
I know. I just about edged you out. I know you would have been there.
I almost made it.
I know, man. And you would have been.
I didn't vote for TMC, so I couldn't get.
You would have been the CEO of Citibank now.
Citibank will call you right now and pull out sponsorship. All right, you have turned into. I don't know if this is true. This is what we got on the web. You have turned into an atheist in your youth, but returned to faith while writing your first book.
I just told you that. I told you earlier in the interview. Yeah, I turned into an atheist when I was in college. So I was an atheist maybe for 10, 12 years or thereabouts. Yeah.
Okay. So, and while writing, you sort of relearned.
I kind of came. So you can say I kind of came back to faith. It wasn't a discovery of faith because I grew up in a very religious household. So when I was young, obviously.
So you've gone through yourself many different periods, to use a word. But there's another thing that people talk about. You're notorious, not notorious, but you're famous for ending stories on cliffhangers.
Damn.
What's that all about?
You've got on to me.
What's all that about? So that they come back for part 2 and part 3 and part 4.
You're a smart bugger, man.
So you got that marketing side to you. So is that it?
Yeah.
Or do you just leave the story open because you yourself don't know what you're going to do with it?
No, see how the story comes to me is like this. So even if it's an entire series, so even before Ramchandra Vishwaku was released, I have the last chapter of the 5th book in my mind. The last paragraph, exact words are there in my mind. Same with Shiva trilogy. Before Immortals of Melua was released, I had the last paragraph in my mind. What the path will be to get there, I don't know. I just kind of discover it while writing.
So in terms of an insect, you have the head and you have the abdomen. You don't have the thorax, which is the middle part. Insects are basically the head is known and then the abdomen is the bottom part. They don't have proper legs. They just have skinny things like Indian males. And then the thorax is the middle part. So, okay. Again, I request you, Mr. 120 claws and batting, to not react to me. But thank you so much for being on our show. And let's talk once again about the book, Raavan.
Raavan, Enemy of Aryavarta.
Yes.
Rocking book. I hope you guys buy it.
Action-packed.
And I hope you like it. Action-packed, rocking.
No, I'm serious.
I hope you guys like it.
People should understand that it's a story.
Yeah.
It's actually like,
it's a story.
If you leave aside,
you can read it as a story.
Just as an action-packed thriller. Adventure, exactly.
Yeah. And through that, hopefully learn something about our
I think you've done, without knowing consciously perhaps, but now obviously you know, you've sort of opened a whole generation back to their own sort of art, culture and religiosity, but not in the way where we've interpreted in the last few years. So I think that's wonderful. I will give you the highest accord and accolade you can get.
Which is a handshake.
Which is one of the Ratnas. Ratna ji ko bola? No, I'm kidding.
Hey, Bhagwan.
I apologize.
Hey, Bhagwan.
Apologize. You've got big guys on your staff. Let's not do that. Amish Tripathi on Cyrus Says.
Thanks, buddy.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please make sure you do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. On our social media, one of the things we do is if you send us a screenshot of what you're listening to, we will repost it on our social network so that people can see that what people are listening to. Put us some comments and we'll respond to them. Also want to let people know that we're still hiring. We're looking for producers, content creators, audio engineers, developers, designers, and business roles, and basically all kinds of other things. Go to the careers page on ivmpodcast.com or send us an email at careers@indusvox.com. Wanted to announce 2 new shows that we are starting, Tech Careers in the New and Agla Station Adulthood. Tech Careers in the New is a brand new podcast presented by Accenture. It's hosted by our very own Shiladitya Mukhopadhyay, my co-host on Shunya One. On this show, he's talking to Accenture leaders about the latest and greatest in the world of technology and gives exclusive tips on technology careers, how to grab opportunities and stay relevant. Watch out for fortnightly episodes on Wednesdays starting July 3rd. The other new show that we're launching this week is an exciting show called Agla Station Adulthood, where best friends Ritasha Rathore and Ayushi Amin ride through the various stations of life. Whether you're in your mid-20s, just entering them, or about to cross into the next decade, tune into this fun show. On the Seen and the Unseen, author and researcher Manu Pillai returns, this time to have an in-depth conversation about his new book, The Courtesan, the Mahatma, and the Italian Brahmin. They discuss an extremely wide range of topics from Italian sages to Gandhian principles to what India would have looked like without the British invasion. On Keeping It Queer, Naveen and Farhad are joined by our producer at IVM and stand-up comedian Abbas Momin to discuss straight pride. Continuing our producer special on paperback, we have our producer Madhuri Advani talking about storytelling and her intervention into various spaces through stories. On the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast, DJ and Varun discuss the match between India and Afghanistan and delve into a deeper conversation with Michelle St. Patrick Hewitt from West Indies and James Butler, host of the Cricket Badger radio show podcast. On States of Anarchy, writer and columnist Devika Kher joins Hamsini to talk about the lack of jobs the world over, the gender disparity at workplaces, and the possible solutions to them. On the Pragati podcast, environmental researcher Lingaraj Jayaprakash joins Pawan to talk about climate change, air pollution, and the looming water crisis. On The Origin of Things, Chuck narrates the story of hills, college memories, and deadly encounters. Will you be able to guess the brand before Chuck reveals it? And with that, let's continue with your show.
If you have any questions for Cyrus, write to us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Or you can send an email to whatcyrussays@gmail.com.
All right, back here on the AMAs, and Amish has decided he wants to talk.
Yeah.
Beyond himself and his books, because this is emails about us.
Because I will finally get a chance.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now you can be the critic of the show, because this is people writing in.
All right, the first question comes from Raj Khairi from Vancouver. He says he loves your podcast. His question is, Cyrus, what are your thoughts about the Himalayan glaciers melting? I am very scared about the climate change and how we are not taking it seriously.
The mountains
Hey, hello, what does this have to do with Raavan? Cancelled. Question cancelled.
No, because mountains are mentioned throughout all the, the historical
I'm joking. Go ahead.
No, it's very important. And I personally don't like climbing mountains, not Malba Hill or Pali Hill, forget going to the Himalayas. So I'm a little scared. Are you one of those people who believes, Donald Trump believes nothing will happen, but are you one of those people who believes we'll lose everything? Flora, fauna, the entire environment, everything will just disappear because of the way we treat the earth?
Yeah, it's like this. Is there a reasonable risk that something like this could happen? Yes. Should you buy an insurance policy for a reasonable risk? Yes, na? Boss, is it guaranteed that your car will have an accident? No. But there's a risk that it could. So you buy a car insurance, no? It's the same thing with this. Is there a reasonable risk that we could have serious problems? Yes. Let's try and do something about it. I think it's freaking silly to assume that nothing is going to happen and we are safe.
Call up Amazon Westland, call them up right now. Next book is going to be on saving the Himalayas. I'll just...
Which Cyrus is going to write?
No, first you've got to get the end. we know your technique now. Give us the end. In the end, the mountains get bigger and the glaciers are there.
You know that's happening with the Himalayas in any case.
How?
भगत तूने स्कूल में क्या पढ़ा है? कैथेड्रल में पढ़ाते हैं.
I was playing cricket.
The Indian subcontinent is moving into the Asian plate, right? So therefore the
Stop saying right like it all makes sense. I'm an idiot. He's an idiot.
The Himalayas are fold mountains, so therefore they'll keep growing. They grow by, I think...
What is a fold mountain?
Is when two continental plates kind of crash against each other and the land kind of keeps growing.
Intercontinental.
Which is why the Himalayas will keep growing.
Yeah, of course.
ये school में था, 6th standard, cathedral school.
I was not
Shame on you. Mrs. Isaacs is embarrassed of you right now.
She doesn't speak to me.
She doesn't
my
speak
dog
to you.
peed
Very
on
rightly
my dog
so.
Peed on
Very
car.
rightly so. I met her some 3 days back.
Oh.
And she said, I am traumatized only by one thing and one thing alone.
What is that?
That Cyrus was in our school.
They can remove it from the records. It's all right. After all, remember for every Ram, there's a Raavan, me. That's the way it works. You got to sell philosophy, man. Sorry. Don't feel like
I can only imagine.
These AMAs are taking forever.
If one of your head speaks so much, I can only imagine how 10 heads of yours would just keep
my point is, I mean no disrespect.
Torture.
Again, talking
Thankfully,
anatomically
there's only one Cyrus head, thank God.
Exactly.
But that was our promo back in India.
For what?
You actually did the same promo.
Really?
We had a promo.
There's only one Cyrus.
Thank God. Exactly like that. I'm not kidding. But
all right.
No, I just want to know. So he has 10 heads. What about organs? The other organs? How does that?
I have no idea.
I mean, going lower down the body. I
I have no
because
idea.
then that could be.
Dude, I have no idea.
I don't know how.
I don't know how low down you want to go. I don't know how low down you want to go. I have no idea. Next question.
I'm thinking of Parliament. I mean, people don't get along.
Next question. Next question.
Sir hai, and one likes the girl, one doesn't like the girl.
Next question.
What's going to happen?
Let's go to the next question. Cyrus, next one comes from Govind Pillai. It's kind of related to mythology, but Greek mythology. He asked what are your thoughts on paradoxes? I think they're kind of unique and explore the randomness in the universe. Have you heard of the Theseus paradox?
Shouldn't it be paradox?
Ship of Theseus.
Yeah. So essentially he asks, what do you think? Which is the old ship? Which is the new ship?
Okay, we have an expert actually. I don't know whether this...
but that's the entire point of that example, that any truth that you want to think has actually a basis for it. So...
what is this Theseus paradox in a nutshell?
Ship of Theseus is, say you have a ship, okay,
Right.
and you remove one plank from that ship and add in a new plank, okay. It's still the same ship, right?
Right.
Say you do that progressively, slowly, okay. Keep removing every new plank and adding a new plank. Do it slowly over years. And after some time, all the planks in the ship, all the wood in the ship have been replaced by new wood. Now, is it a new ship or is it the same ship?
And is it
That's a philosophical discussion. And is it ship-shape?
There you go.
Cyrus brings in the most important.
I have only one
right
thing.
to the nub of the issue, like a laser.
I want to tell this young man.
Like a laser. Now the question is this. Is it the same ship or is it a new ship? That's a philosophical discussion. The entire point is actually there is no answer.
So
you will
the
understand it from your perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the entire point.
Okay. In colloquial Gujarati, we say seep. Not sheep. But that's another point. I would like to say only one thing to this young man. Take your ship anywhere but not near Somalia. That pirates of Somalia are very dangerous.
And they may take all the planks all at once.
Not just the planks.
If
they took the planks.
Na rahegi ship, na rahega sailor.
What is sailor in Vedic Sanskrit?
Oh shit, I don't know.
What is Mogambo Khushua in Vedic Sanskrit?
Mogambo, tame kya bole cho? Okay, shut up now. Next question.
Okay, the last one comes
very
from
limited, Baba.
Girish Patil. His question is specifically to you, Cyrus. What is the origin of your surname? Is it an aberration of Bharucha?
Arey Baba, Bharuch is the Gujarati pronunciation of the port. We settled there. Bharuch is the name. The anglicized one made it Broach. It's not difficult, yeah. So simple. Most Indian surnames are either the profession or the place. Or the caste sometimes. They keep. That's it. Very few people take just any name. I would like to take any name like microphone. Cyrus microphone. But again, they'll say that's your profession. God.
Exactly.
Yeah. Amish, thank you so much. Wonderful. Any books on erotica?
No.
But will there be in the future?
I'll ask Westland to contact you.
Please do. As you grew up with mythology, I grew up with erotica.
You can write for them.
Yes, I can. And when in solo sexual conflict, I have a PhD.
Okay, enough. End of interview. Thank you very much, Cyrus. Thank you very much, Cyrus. Absolute pleasure.
I'm the man from the mountains.
Okay, absolute pleasure.
Glacier or no glacier.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, the book is called Raavan, Enemy of Aryavarta. And it's not just this book, but many more to follow.
Right.
And I think it's never going to end.
And it's the third of a 5-book series.
I think it's fair to say you've made mythology fun. And I think that is as good a compliment as you can give anyone for whatever they've done in their life. To make something fun.
Yeah. Thanks, bro.
Okay, folks, great news for me, not so much for you. We're going thrice a week. We're not repeating shows. We're going on thrice a week, 2 regular shows and a new one, the birth of a new one called Land So, Left Arm Not So Orthodox. It's talking cricket. 2 great minds talking cricket. One who has never played the game and the other, well, relatively less inexperienced. The one and only, what's my name? Cyrus Brocha. Land So. New episodes every Wednesday. Okay, catch us on any of the podcasting apps, please. We beg you, we need you. Send us your questions on Twitter, on Cyrus Says In. Or you can email us, even if you're not female, on whatcyrussays@gmail.com.
And that's what Cyrus says.
Hi, my name is Anupam Gupta. I'm B50 on Twitter. I am the host of Paisa Vaisa, the show that talks money. On my show, I speak to experts from every field of money and finance, from stock markets, equities, debt funds, credit cards, life insurance, every possible area of money and finance that you can think of. We even did an episode on cryptocurrency. I've got fantastic guests from mutual funds to personal finance experts everywhere. Robo-advisory, startups, just name it, we've got it. At Paisa Vaisa, we help you make smart decisions about money. You work hard for money. Now make your money work hard for you. New episodes out every Monday, and you can listen to my show on the IVM Podcast app or any other podcasting app that you have. Paisa Vaisa is brought to you by Paytm Money.
Hi, I'm Vishal Gondal, an entrepreneur. I've had the chance to meet and understand how some of the super achievers have hacked their way to success, and they have done spectacular innovations. Now I take a closer look at these people's lives to find out what lies beneath the force, only on the Vishal Gondal Show. Episodes out fortnightly on Wednesdays on the IVM website, app, or your favorite podcasting platform.